So I've tested out over 30 different modded characters in Castle Crashers, and in this video, I'm going to be going over the top 3 best modded characters. And of course, these are all just my opinions, so let me know down in the comments which ones are your favorite. Anyways, let's just get into it. Now before I list the top 3 best characters, I'm going to quickly give an honorable mention to Finn. Now Finn is a character from the Industrial Prince mod, and his magic attacks consist of throwing water balloons that do high damage, and using waves to splash his enemies that summon fish after hitting them. If you're going to use Finn in a playthrough, I would recommend pairing him with the Piggy pet, since Piggy gives you more health when eating food. And if you pair this with Finn's heavy magic, you can generate a ton of food and end up getting a ton of health from it. But now with the honorable mention out of the way, let's get into the top 3. Now coming in at 3rd place, we have the Barbarian Boss. Now this guy has a ton of different abilities, which consist of the regular punch, the shield spike, the shield slam, the toxic belch, and finally my favorite, the War Machine throw. Now the Barbarian Boss just has a ton of health no matter what level you have him at, and all of his attacks do a ton of damage. Another cool feature about this guy is that all of his attacks have splash damage, which means they can hit a ton of enemies at once. This is especially true for the Toxic Belch and the War Machine throw. Both of these abilities can wipe out almost the entire screen at once. The only downside about this guy is that his attacks are pretty slow, and after using the shield slam with him, he has to point and laugh at his enemies, which is pretty funny, but it does leave him kind of vulnerable. Anyways, let's get right into the second best modded character, which in my opinion is the Cyclops. Now before I even get into his magic, a really cool feature about this guy is he can actually turn into the undead Cyclops, which has completely different magic than the original Cyclops, but I'll get more into that later. The regular Cyclops attacks consist of the knife slam, the knife toss, and his laser beam. Now one thing that differs from the Barbarian Boss is that this guy is really fast. Like, he is insanely fast. But anyways, the knife slam and the knife toss are pretty standard attacks, but the laser eye is very OP. It absolutely shreds enemies and bosses. I mean, just look at these poor fish guys. And now let's talk about the undead Cyclops' abilities. Now he actually has more abilities than the regular Cyclops, which include the coffin swing, the fireball attack, the coffin hop, and the coffin cannon. Yeah, he does a lot of things with this coffin, okay? And just like the Barbarian Boss, this guy does a ton of damage, and his coffin swing can absolutely just send enemies into the stratosphere. But my 2 favorite abilities about this guy consist of the coffin hop and the coffin cannon. Now the coffin hop has him stand on top of his coffin while the undead groom comes out and starts attacking enemies. Now you can also just squish the enemies by jumping on them, and if you fail to do that, the groom's just gonna kill him anyways. Now the coffin cannon just shoots flaming skulls out of it, and kind of similar to the laser eye attack, it can kind of just shred through enemies. And the fireball attack also kind of works like this. And before I move on to the best modded character, we're slowly but surely approaching 30,000 subscribers, and if you want to claim your pre-30,000 subscribers ticket, consider hitting that button, since it's free and you can always change your mind. Now for the moment you guys have been waiting for, it's time to get into the best modded character in Castle Crashers, which in my opinion is the Yellow Knight. And at first you guys might be thinking, how is this little knight better than the Cyclops and the Barbarian Boss? And I'll explain in a second. But first I'm going to go over his magic, which consists of his vanish ability, screen stun, magnifying glass attack, light bulb toss, and explosive magic jump. The vanish ability lets him disappear into thin air, which is great for making a getaway against opponents. The screen stun stuns the entire screen, but it does use a ton of mana. And the magnifying glass freezes enemies in place and just barbecues them. Now a cool thing about this attack is that it gives you a ton of XP, which is great for getting quick level ups. And the light bulb toss just throws a light bulb that breaks into shards. And finally the explosive magic jump just sets nearby enemies on fire. And now I'm going to talk about why I like the Yellow Knight more than the Cyclops and the Barbarian Boss. So even though he's not as powerful as those 2 guys, I feel like he's better for an actual playthrough since he's not insanely OP, and I feel like he'd be really good in a co-op setting since some players can just use regular knights and the Yellow Knight won't completely overpower them, unlike how the Barbarian Boss or the Cyclops would. And that is the top 3 modded characters in Castle Crashers in my opinion. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of this list down below, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.